The following is a rebroadcast of the 1993 Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions. Be sure to join Doug Brown and Dan Murphy on Sunday, October 10th for a brand new season of Candlepin Stars and Strikes.
The 5th annual Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions featured wins by Neil Gosselin in weeks 1 and 2. But in week 3, Peter Flynn took over, a 408 and a dramatic 4-pin come-from-behind victory. In last week's semifinals, Flynn kept it rolling, and second-seeded Rico Baldinelli never had a chance.
I might convert this. You never know. Last week, I call it or what?
That was just the beginning for Peter Flynn last week. 20 marks in all and a 444. Today, he'll shoot for the championship against our number 1 seed, Paul Berger. Welcome to Candlepin Stars and Strikes and the finals of the 1993 Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Championship Week. It's the Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions Finals. 2 hours coming up for you today. First, here from Park Place Lanes, our singles final between Peter Flynn and Paul Berger. And then, of course, coming up at 1 o'clock, it's our doubles final. We'll talk to you more about that in a little bit. But Peter Flynn is going to be the dominant factor here in these 2 hours.
Absolutely. You think of all the bowlers that have tried out for the show, and we're down to finally just 2 bowlers left, and it's kind of exciting.
All right, and 2 of the best here for this final match today. Let's meet them. First of all, our number 3 seed. He's won the last 2 weeks. All he's done is thrown a 408 to beat Neil Gosselin, and then last week a 444 to beat Rico Baldinelli. And so he's trying to make it 3 in a row. From Bradford, Massachusetts, Peter Flynn.
Must be used to the 400s because the average is 134, and it has a high single of 211 and a high triple of 482.
All right, so after those 2 wins, Peter is going to try and continue his incredible record here on Stars and Strikes. Of course, he's already won, in addition to the 2 matches on singles, he and his partner Chuck Godzik have already won 4 matches on the doubles Tournament of Champions as well. So he will try and win another one, but he's got a pretty tough customer to contend with, our number 1 seed, qualifying for his 5th consecutive appearance in the Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions from Hopedale, Massachusetts, Paul Berger.
Okay, Paul comes in averaging 130, has a high single of 193, and a high triple, which was hit on a television show at 500.
Just incredible. The money on the line here today, pretty impressive. $600 for the runner-up. $1,500 for the winner. And, of course, we'll have our bonus ball contest, our last chance of the year to make one of you at home a winner as well, and perhaps get your brand new set of bowling balls for the summer. So we'll do all of that and, of course, have 3 strings of bowling coming up between Peter Flynn and Paul Berger. You won't want to miss this one. Stay by your TV. We'll be right back. It is Championship Week in our 5th annual Tournament of Champions, and we're happy to have you joining us. This should be a dandy. Neil Gosselin started the Tournament of Champions with 2 big wins, but then he was knocked off in a very dramatic 3rd week match by Peter Flynn, 408 to 404. Peter followed that up with a big win last week, throwing a 444 against Rico Baldinelli. And so now he is here for a 3rd consecutive week in singles to try and challenge our number 1 seed, Paul Berger. And don't forget that regardless of what happens this hour, you're going to see Peter next hour as well, because he and Chuck Godzik have risen from the bottom of the pack all the way up to the finals of the doubles Tournament of Champions as well, as they'll be going for their 5th straight win. They'll be against Gary Carrington and Jack Ray at 1 o'clock. Gary Carrington and Joe Ashline, pardon me. Carrington and Ray bowled together in another event.
I was going to say, I couldn't figure who Jackie was with. I knew he was with one of those 2.
Peter Flynn starts with a 9. These 2 guys have bowled against each other once before here on Stars and Strikes. And a strike in the 2nd. We'll get another look at that one. Back on April 30th, 1989, Paul Berger threw a 460 to beat Peter Flynn's 395.
7-10 left for Paul. Wood in front of the 7. Another one angled toward the head pin. I have to catch a piece of each one of those, I would say.
Nope.
In fact, it was on the strength of that big win over Peter Flynn. Paul Berger went on in that series 4 years ago to win 3 in a row and qualify for his first Tournament of Champions. And of course, he is the only man who's been in all 5 of them. No one else has been in more than 2, and Paul Berger has been in all 5. Last year, he was also the #1 seed. This is the 3rd time in 5 tournaments that Paul Berger's been the #1 seed for the Tournament of Champions. Last year, he lost to a very hot Mike Morgan in the championship match. 2 years ago, Paul was the #3 seed and lost by 3 pins in his first match to Pat Pay. In 1990, he was the #1 seed and beat Al Cloutier with a 391. That was the year that Paul won the event, the only year that he won it. In 1989, his first appearance, he was the #6 seed and lost to Mike Morgan in that one as well, even though he threw a 399. So Paul looking to make it title #2 here in the tournament. He opened up with a pair of 10s, and Peter Flynn will take the early lead, although
He's working on a strike.
yeah, Phil may not be what he had hoped. It'll be, well, wait a minute, I should know better. Some of the shots we've seen Peter make. 9-pin Phil, I guess, is okay. And the 10. Well, Peter will have another one to work on here. The 5, 7, 8, and 10 with wood, though.
Yeah, the wood's angled towards the 10-pin. Problem is probably going to be the corners.
Yes, sir.
Hey, was so quick I didn't even see what knocked the 7-pin down. The ball carry him off there. Ball must, no, piece of wood. That was a good shot. Excellent shot by Peter Flynn. And Paul Berger right back with a 9-pin drop. Just the 7 left. And lots of help out in front.
After the show last week, Dan, I heard some people talking about Peter Flynn and what it's like to bowl against him, and they were talking about the intimidation factor, especially if he gets on one of these rolls. There are certain bowlers, there are a handful of bowlers, and the names are familiar to everyone. The guys who are just at a higher echelon, right, and if they get it going, there can really be an intimidation factor. Of course, the thing today is you've got 2 of those guys. Really.
Right. I think Peter set the tone last week because he went through the middle a couple times and still ended up with spare leaves. And he had bad wood on a single and hit the wood, and the wood came from behind. Now, if he, I don't want to say steal a couple, but if he gets a couple that you don't expect him to get, watch out, because he'll get the ones that normal people do if he gets a shot at it. And he did just that, and then he started just burying the ball, and it could have been a lot higher. Missed a couple signals going down the stretch. 48, all tied up, but Peter will take the lead with this ball.
Kicks out the 9, so it'll be an 8-pin drop. The 3-10 for a spare try.
Each bowler, when they miss the object pin, will be thinking, I don't want to give him a break. They both respect each other that much that they realize they can't make too many mistakes and win this match.
With the 4 wins in the doubles tournament of champions and his 2 wins so far here in the singles event. Oh, and a strike in the 6th. Peter Flynn's overall record now here on the wins is 21-4 with shots like that.
3 marks, 2 of them strikes, all on lane 31. Paul Berger drops 7, a 3, 6, and a 10 left. And he too misses the object pin, as Peter did on lane 32. The last box.
10. So the lead is 8. But Peter Flynn has a strike up here in the 6th. Paul Berger from Hopedale, Mass. Paul and his wife Paula have 2 sons, 15-year-old Damon and 10-year-old Alex. Paul does a lot of his bowling at Metro West in Framingham and at Fico's in Franklin, and that was a fine spare.
Certainly was. 3, 4, 6. And just jumps the 3 right over into the 4-pin and puts his second mark up, both spares.
Oh, wow. Almost a double strike for Peter Flynn. How many 9-pin drops has he had the last 3 weeks?
I don't know. I can't count that high. He's looking at the 10-pin here.
Right there. 96 plus a ball in the 7th. Seven this time.
And the 5, 7, 8. 5 and 8, of course, are right together. 7-pin is in the right-hand corner. Probably trying to split the 5 and the 8. No, not quite.
$113 through 8. Oh, and Paul Berger is right through the heart for a 4 fill on his spare.
Both bowlers don't waste too much time. They get up there, grab the next ball, get on the approach, and they're ready to go. 7 bucks. It's only 21 pins in those 2 frames for Paul Berger, trailing by 24 now.
Just clipped the head pin, just touched it. And here at Park Place Lanes, that's usually a pretty good strategy.
Keep the pins moving on the plate. These shots are changing rapidly here as we speak. The wood keeps moving, changing Paul's. Oh, boy.
Right over the top. Paul thought he had it.
Over the top and just to the right of it also. Another piece of wood was spinning by.
The 10 bucks. We'll look at that again and see what happened. Up and over. Wow. That first piece of wood went right up and over the 7-pin. Sometimes seems, we just saw it happen, but it sometimes seems hard to believe in that space, 2.5 or 3 feet, that the pin could get airborne that high and go up over. Not quite for Peter. And the 9.
122 through 9. Opening game, championship week. Peter Flynn and Paul Berger. 2 of the thoroughbreds in the game of Candlepin. Four horsemen left, right, I should say, plus the 4 and the 8.
He usually makes it interesting, even when he misses them. $132. Didn't hit his average. Not many people can say that at 132.
But he only had the benefit of 4 marks for that 132, and that's a pretty good game. Fills of 9, 8, 10, and 7, and only left 2 pins standing other than that. Paul Berger trying to close the gap a little bit. He's 89 through 8. And again, the 7-pin costs him another mark.
And that'll be a 9 bucks. Nice hit that time by Paul, just crossing over to the Brooklyn 1-2 pocket. He has the 6-pin by itself. For the spare.
Gives him 108 plus the bonus ball. Peter Flynn will have the lead. Just a question of how many.
Yeah, a reasonable fill will cut that lead under 20. And let's see, it will be 8 for a 116. So after game 1 of our championship match in the 5th annual Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions, Peter Flynn with a 16-pin lead over Paul Berger. Paul Berger. Paul's got to feel fortunate, I would imagine, Dan, in some respects, through a 116 opening game, and he's only down by 16.
And again, the corners pins have cost him, that's about the 3rd one that looked like he hit it. Everything goes except one of the corner pins, the 7 or the 10.
Gets it for the 10. Paul has 3 marks to this point, all spares. Peter Flynn has 4 marks, 2 of each. Brooklyn hit that time. The extra pin goes down, and Paul gives a little extra press on the reset button.
Last time in that lane, he left the 6-pin. This time, he gets a piece of wood off the wall, trips the 6-pin out for the strike. If anyone's counting, but it's such a rarity. But that's 3 boxes in a row. Peter missed the head pin with the first ball.
Last week I started to run through some of the thank yous as we wrap up another season of Candlepin Bowling here on the Winds. Don't want to forget some other important folks. Alden Warner up in Vermont, the guy who coordinates our CompuScore system. As Peter Flynn looks at another spare leave. Norm Norcross and his fine staff at NNR Trophy in Winchendon, Mass. provide the prizes for our bonus ball contest and also souvenir plaques and clocks for the participants in the Tournament of Champions. As Peter Flynn spares in the second. His 5th mark. Paul Berger now working on a strike. Missing the head pin. Don't want to forget also our good friend Bob Perella at Paramount Industries in Medway, Mass. for his support and his help in providing prizes, the bowling balls that we give away in the bonus ball contest, and of course also we mentioned before, but it bears repeating, Bob, one of the driving forces behind Candlepin Bowling's participation in the New England Sports Museum at the Cambridge Side Gallery, and we urge you to get down there this summer. And I assume we'll see Bob on the golf course this summer.
If he's on the course that you're on, you'll see him.
Or hear him. Two open boxes for Paul Berger and Peter Flynn working on a spare.
At time, I'll tell you a funny story about Bob Perlin in golf.
Oh, Peter made the same shot twice in a row, but he did a little differently that time.
Just kissed the four pin with the 2 as it went by. 2 marks in a row.
Would you believe the same leave 3 times in a row? This is the third box in a row he's had the same lead.
This wood changes a little bit. He's going to have to come up high in the wood.
Got it. 3 marks in a row for Peter Flynn. He builds on the lead, and we're about at the halfway point of our championship match. Candlepin Stars and Strikes, the Tournament of Champions, rolls on. Paul Berger.
Four and 8 left for Paul.
That's a big mark for him. He doesn't want Peter Flynn to get too far away. Peter had a 16-pin lead. It's already up to 23 plus his next ball, so that was a big mark. Fortunately for Paul, not exactly a spare leave on the fill.
5 and 10. Can be cut over.
You know you're watching one of the best Candlepin bowlers when, on a shot like that, as soon as Paul released the ball, he turned away. He was right on the 5-pin. But, of course, he was looking to cut it over. And he knew right away that he had hit it too full.
Peter Flynn working on a streak of 3 spares.
Oh.
And if it's going to be 4, it's going to be the making of a spread eagle for a spare.
We'll just watch. Not this time. Working the big scoreboard for our fans here at the tapings and also for the bowlers, and also taking care of the pin decks for us is Cindy Sissom. We want to thank her for her fine work on both programs throughout the year.
And again.
Wow.
This time not quite the spread eagle.
And of course, it couldn't happen at all without the support of our great sponsors, most notably Tri-State Megabucks. They've been with us for 5 full seasons now, each and every week, now on both programs. And of course, these events, the Tournament of Champions, are the showcase event for Tri-State Megabucks, and we appreciate all of their support and the great support that they give really throughout the game of Candlepin bowling.
And the corner pins again haunting Paul today. The 7-10 left. Couple pieces of wood and also a third piece, as you see there.
Our participating sponsors on this series, Somerville Lumber, where you can get it right the first time, and Rockingham Toyota Dodge Nissan. Come to Salem and save. Emmett Horgan, the owner of Rockingham Toyota Dodge Nissan, will be with us to help present the prize money at the end of this show. And boy, Paul has turned away from a lot of those possible spares, hasn't he?
Yeah, those corner pins, they really got it in for him, especially the 7-pin.
We've had a number of other sponsors throughout the season. We want to thank all of them as well. We look forward to working with you more in the future. And he trips it out. Trips out the 5-pin for a strike.
Just tipped the 5-pin as the wood was going by. Watch this on the replay. Here comes the piece of wood. Just nicks it.
Well, Peter Flynn last time up through 2 7 boxes. When do you suppose the last time that happened was?
He's lost a little bit of the rhythm because he's not on that head with the first ball like he was that first game. It's the difference between your average bowler and those bowlers that excel just a little bit more. That everyone has streaks where they can just throw that ball in the pocket. Peter Flynn, Paul Berger, those type of bowlers can do it for a longer period of time. That's where the scores come from. Peter come right back.
Oh, yes.
And he gets his strike.
Matching strikes in the 8th box. This time the 9-pin tapped out. Right there.
Paul Berger looking for a double strike now. Working on one.
And let's see, in the corner, no, on the 7-pin.
It certainly has a nice spare leave to go spare on strike.
There it is.
Maybe that broke the jinx on the 7-pin.
And I know, Dan, before we get too much farther along in the hour, two of us travel around various places during the season and even during the summer while we're rebroadcasting some shows, and just great response from the folks who watch Candlepin Stars and Strikes, suggestions and comments and criticisms, and always great to talk to those of you fans of the program here on the Winds, and we both want to extend our appreciation to everybody.
Likewise, from me, it certainly is. It's amazing a number of people who watch the show and recognize us as we travel around. Peter Flynn looking for the double. Everything but the 9-pin.
And God willing, in the fall, we'll be back for our 10th season.
Amazing how time flies when you're having fun. Yeah, it's fun. I can put up with you, Doug.
The wood is in play, but Peter ignores it. Spare on strike. That matched the spare that Paul Berger put up in the 9th, so Peter will still have the lead after 2 games. Just a question now of the number. Right now it's 14.
It was 16 coming in, 132 to 116 the first game.
Big shot here. No, that mark would have put the lead over 20 probably. But instead, it's going to be a bit closer than that. A 10 box, a 130 for Peter Flynn. Paul Berger takes the second game by 2, and there's the story. 262 for Peter Flynn, 248 for Paul Berger. The difference is just 14. One game is going to decide this thing after these words. One game to go.
And a mere 14 pins separating our 2 bowlers for the 1993 Tournament of Champion.
Don't forget, immediately following at 1 o'clock, Stars and Strikes Doubles Tournament of Champions final match. Peter Flynn will be involved in that one too. Teamed with Chuck Godzik. They'll face Gary Carrington and Joe Ashline. And Peter opens game 3 with an 8. Once again, Peter missing the head pin to the right.
1, 2, and 7 left.
Oh, yeah.
Spare in the second.
Mark number 10 for Peter Flynn.
You see the replay, just a domino effect. 1, 2, and finally the 7.
Paul Berger kicks out the 6-pin, leaving himself with a spare opportunity. Remember, Paul, as the number 1 seed, is the home team, if you will. He gets last at bat. That shot was a bit of an adventure, but he converted it for the spare.
Yeah, it just, I'm not saying that it might owe him a couple of those. He got tapped earlier in the match, but did get a break coming back. This time, straight through the middle.
And Paul will take a 7 box.
not quite what he was thinking. There's 22 pins now in those 2 frames. Peter Flynn working on a spare now. Anything over 4 will increase his lead. Well, he also is 5.
Altogether, more than $4,000 in prize money to be awarded here today on the wins. And it's a 9 box for Peter. And to clear away a loose ball.
$6.10 left for Peter.
Well, there's a spare. Of course, every time Peter puts one up, Paul knows that he's got to get one just to stay even. And remember, he was trailing by 14 pins coming into this game.
Rocking 6-pin.
Watch out. Oh, no.
Released that one too soon. Dropped the ball behind him a little bit. Caused the ball go off to the right. And a missed opportunity there for Paul.
Paul looked like he just slipped off to the right a little bit that time, too. Lost his footing, maybe. There's a nice recovery.
How many times does that happen?
Well, he would have loved to have that strike on a spare, but he put the missed single out of his mind and came right back with a big strike in the 4th. Still 14 pins the difference. Each bowler with a mark up in the 4th. Should be a great finish to decide it all here in the Tournament of Champions. It's interesting as we come down to the final 6 boxes now. Peter Flynn working on a spare. And he drops 9. You begin to notice these subtle little things, and while Peter's been on with us, while we're in commercial break, he's normally standing up and ready to go. When we come back from commercial, that time he sat down during the break. He's maybe trying to think a little bit more about what he wants to try and do, and he converts the single pin for the spare there, his 12th mark. 6 on this one.
Can't get much more concentration than you get out of these 2 bowlers. It's just
true.
It's incredible. They're all business up there.
Oh, yes, sir.
3 in a row.
Remember, Peter Flynn wouldn't even be in this match, except 2 weeks ago he finished his match against Neil Gosselin with 5 consecutive marks.
Oh, double would have been huge right there.
Wow.
Paul kind of slaps his thigh like, why? Can I carry that extra corner pin once in a while?
There it is for spare on strike.
And you heard the crowd, ooh, like, didn't go down quickly.
He almost needs another one here to keep pace. He doesn't want to fall any farther behind, with the boxes dwindling here.
Well, he actually gained a pin in that exchange. Right back in there.
Oh, look out! Look out! Ball down on one knee.
How close to a triple was that? Strike, 9-pin drop, leave the 10. 9-pin drop, leave the 9.
That wood is way out in front.
Yeah, and there's another one right next to it that is going to hit before it hits the 9 pins. He has to be careful.
Carries it out. Boy, 2 clutch marks there. And how about this for a finish? The lead is 10 now. 10 pins the lead for Peter Flynn as we come down to the final 4 boxes.
Okay, Peter, come on.
My palms are getting a little moist, and I'm not even up there bowling.
Peter Flynn on a spare, drops 8. Not the greatest leave.
No, but watch the wood now. See the one moving in the back? No, that's going to roll out of play. No. So you can afford to hit the 3 pin and still have a chance of making the 7 if he doesn't cut it over.
4 marks in a row.
Which one will blink first? Well,
Peter bounced that one.
Yeah, dropped it, got a decent break, just the 4 horsemen, but he does have some help between the 6 and the 10.
Looking for his 5th mark in a row, and he's got it. Just amazing.
Marks are great. The fills are the things that could keep Paul in this match if he were to. No, he's opposite a spare 8. That's the key right now. Oh no, and he misses the head pin, only 4.
And more importantly, a very difficult leave.
Oh, right
Almost.
around. Right around the 610.
Peter's lead now is 21 through the 7th. Paul almost has to come up with a mark here.
Yes, yeah. You're absolutely right. Must match the mark that Peter has. And it's not going to be easy. This 4, 7, 10. A couple pieces of wood in front of the 4 and 7. Need some help for the 10.
Let's see if it'll go for him. Oh, how about that?
Who's standing? Missed the 7 pin. That's about a half dozen times Paul's left the 7 pin.
10. And let's look. He did what he had to do.
Yeah, he had to get that wood moving across toward the 10 pin, and he was hoping he would take the 7 before it went across after the 10. Now, Peter would have to make some huge mistakes now to. That's not a mistake.
No.
No.
Oh, yeah. 6 marks in a row. 16 in all.
Already at 392 with a ball and a full box to come. Six in a row and 7 out of 9 boxes.
Oh, an 8 drop. Slumping.
That gives him an even 400 right now.
That piece of wood is in play, but it's going to stay out of Peter's way. Cindy Sissom will go down and check it just to be sure. But Peter's not going to have to be concerned with that, I don't think, the way he's throwing right now. For 7 marks in a row, and he slides by. Well, that will only be important if Paul Berger throws a bunch of strikes here in the last 2 boxes. Peter Flynn has thrown a 410, his 3rd straight 400 triple. And that does it.
Can't throw strikes if he can't knock the corner pins down. That's been Paul's problem all day long. Looked like he hit a few and left the corners. And Peter, when he needed them, threw 6 consecutive marks.
Peter Flynn is the 1993 Tournament of Champions winner. Paul Berger at 113 through 9. He'll finish it out on lane 31. It's ironic that Paul is far and away the guy who's been here the most often in the Tournament of Champions, yet he's come up against a lot of terrific competition, as you would expect, and he's been able to win the event, or just win 1 match, I should say, in the 5 times that he's been here. A spare in the 10th for Paul. That'll be his 12th mark.
But a tribute to Paul, we wouldn't be talking about that stat.
That's right.
If he didn't get here. And it takes a lot to get here to the Tournament of Champions. Can't lose here until you get here. Paul's done it every single year.
An 8, a 131, and there'll be congratulations for Peter Flynn from Paul Berger. Peter Flynn just put 3 terrific weeks together, and he is a very deserving 1993 Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions winner. We'll be back to present the big checks and have a lot more, including our bonus ball contest, and wrap up this 1993 season after these words. Don't go away. All right, welcome back, everybody, and the first half of our championship week is over here on Candlepin Stars and Strikes. Peter Flynn put 3 terrific matches together, all 3 of them 400 triples, and a very deserving winner against very tough competition.
It's just fun to watch bowlers of their caliber and the way they play the different shots, and I think Paul's going to see 7 pins in his sleep after tonight. And he said, geez, I guess I don't know how to play wood, but I thought I'd play the same way. He hit some of his shots, and it just didn't carry. And that's the difference in this game when you get 2 guys of this caliber. It's who gets the breaks and who doesn't.
It's also interesting, too, we spoke about this a little bit during the show, but it's a 2-step process to get here on the program to begin with. You have to go through a series of 2 different roll-offs to get here, and then to get to this point in the Tournament of Champions, there's another level, of course, and both of these guys, neither Peter nor Paul Berger came in as a number 1 seed to qualify for the Tournament of Champions, so they've done a lot of hard work this year, and it's paid off. Some terrific bowling.
Well, they might not have been number 1 in the ladder setup, but they certainly were number 1 in a lot of eyes, people who watch this game, because they are terrific bowlers.
All right, let's meet them both briefly in our closing minutes of the season that is quickly coming to a close. Let's call up Paul Berger first. Paul, come on up. Check for $600 for second prize for Paul Berger, and boy, I don't know, tough competition here, I guess, is the story.
Oh, there's no one tougher than Peter. I thought I hit some shots that didn't go. I'm going to have to go back to the drawing board and playing wood, I think. But Peter didn't give me any openings as well. I mean, you get behind Peter and he just keeps chucking, and you're not gonna find too many openings, that's for sure.
We talked about it during the show. The corner pins seem to be the problem for you today.
That they were. No doubt about it. I'll see a few of them in my sleep, I think.
Paul, congratulations again. Terrific accomplishment. You're the only guy that's been in more than 2 of these events. You've been in all 5 of them, so I guess we'll be seeing you again next year.
We'll give it our best shot.
All right, Paul. Thanks very much. Congratulations. All right, Peter Flynn now to try and win one of you at home some cash. $60 is the amount in the bonus ball contest, and also a couple of brand new sets of bowling balls from Paramount Industries. And Peter Flynn has to throw one more ball before his work is done. Oh, my. Oh, my. He's back to normal. We haven't given you that check, you know. We can take that away. It's just a 3.
Let me look for
Oh, it's not a match, Peter. What a shocker. Raymond Pinault from Derry, New Hampshire, guessed 8. Silly Raymond.
Obviously didn't know I was going to be it.
So Raymond will be receiving a consolation gift from TV50 and from the NHCBA. Emmett Horgan, the owner from Rockingham Toyota Dodge Nissan, is going to join us in a moment here. But first, a word from you, Peter. Terrific job. 3,400. You averaged 140 in the 3 weeks that you were here. Very, very consistent throughout.
Yeah, I was really, really happy with the way things went. The ball was working good, and I was sticking it in there and getting a bunch when I did. And when I missed, it seemed to mix around a little bit for me too. So I got the breaks, and Paul didn't. He left a couple of corner pins there. He got a couple of tough ones, and it's the difference.
For those of us who've never been there in any sport, can you just kind of describe what it's like to be in that kind of zone when it's just everything you throw seems to work?
I don't know. It's hard to describe. It's just you don't remember it. You just keep going.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, rather than talk about it, how about if we give you some money? How would that be?
That'd be great.
Let's call in Emmett Horgan from Rockingham Toyota Dodge Nissan to present the winner's check.
Congratulations. This is what you've been working so hard for, and it's been a long road. I know you put a lot of effort into it. And everyone at Rockingham Toyota Dodge Nissan is really proud of you. And here's the sports. I know your wife is in the background, so you want me to give it to her right now? So that's great.
Hold it for now.
Congratulations. Super job.
Thank you. Super.
Emmett, thank you, and thank you again for your support. And All right, thanks very much. Not only for Rockingham Toyota Dodge Nissan, but also for this series to Somerville Lumber, and of course, as always, to Tri-State Megabucks. Peter, again, congratulations to you. A terrific job, and don't go away because we got more bowling for you in the doubles. You got the doubles final coming up in just a few minutes, so don't go anywhere. You got to get over to Londonderry, all right?
Let me go get a drink.
All right. Thanks very much. Congratulations. All right, we've just got 1 hour to go in the season. We come down to the championship match for Stars and Strikes doubles. Peter Flynn will be involved in that in just a moment, trying to make it a double header. Nobody's done that yet.
That's true, and I'd just like to thank you for working with you again, and believe it, when you see at home, they say, you guys look like you have a good time there. Well, this guy's a talented guy, and it is a lot of fun, really, and you actually get paid a little for it, too.
Well, you're very kind, Dan. The feeling's mutual. Thanks very much again. Another terrific season. A pleasure, as always, to work with you, and I'll catch you on the golf course after this next hour is over. Right?
Well, if you're going to catch me, you got to find me in the woods.
Yeah, you'll be on one side and I'll be on the other side. Don't go away, folks, because we've got the Stars and Strikes doubles Tournament of Champions final coming straight ahead in just a few minutes. It'll be Chuck Godzik and Peter Flynn against Gary Carrington and Joe Ashline. Until then, for Dan Murphy and the whole crew, I'm Doug Brown. Have a good day, everybody.